Have you ever paid attention to the energies that are present in your life during the eclipses? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sylvia Salow and I help lightworkers and starseeds to remember who they are. And in this video, I want to talk about the spiritual meaning of an eclipse and also the symbology of the moon and the sun. So let's begin. The eclipse season happens approximately twice a year. And of course, the specific timing is different, but it happens in April, May, June, and then again in autumn, around October, November, sometimes December. It fluctuates, so it's never the same dates. But it happens approximately every 6 months. Now, there is a solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. There's usually a 2-week window between them. And there is 2-week window before the first eclipse takes place, where we already start experiencing the spiritual energy. And then there is a 2-week window after the last eclipse. That is still the integration phase of those eclipse energies. So we have approximately about 6 weeks, twice a year, when we go through this massive upgrades and a massive spiritual transformation. But to truly understand what's happening on that spiritual level, let's look at the symbology behind the moon and the sun. Let's start with the sun. The sun symbolizes our conscious mind. It's that inner observer who can see things through your inner eye. It's that pure consciousness bringing clarity to situations. The sun is also the symbol of the higher self, because the higher self is the conscious mind. The sun is also the symbol of Christ's self. So this is truly what we are aiming in the ascension journey. We are basically trying to become the sun. We are trying to become the consciousness, the higher self, that inner Christ. And so the sun is also symbolized by gold in nature, and it's because gold doesn't go through any chemical decomposition. It's like that inner light, that spiritual solar light, that Christ itself within us, that is stable, it remains. And this is that pool of ascension, this is this energy that's helping us to ascend. The sun is also a symbol of our individuation. So this is the I, the individuation that then becomes our personality. And it's the illuminator because the sun illuminates everything that is not seen, that remains in the shadow. When you bring the sun there, it brings that clarity. For instance, seership is related to the sphere of the sun, because a seer can see things directly. On the other hand, we have the moon. The moon is reflecting the light coming from the sun. The moon is symbolizing the subconscious mind and also the lower self. It's the light of the astral realm that is being reflected, because the astral realm is the realm of illusions and wrong information. And it's because there's that reflected light, not the direct light coming from the sun. So we can always have this kind of second-hand experience. The moon also governs psychic abilities. So let's say the mediums and channelers are using the moon powers. And when they use those powers, they operate in the language of symbols. The sun sees everything clearly as it is. The moon uses the symbols. So if your subconscious mind communicates with you, it's sending you symbols, which is very important to keep in mind, because if we take those symbols literally, we get lost in those illusions. We just have to use them as a map. So as you are working on yourself and going through your ascension journey, you are mastering first the sphere of the moon, and then you are tapping into the sphere of the sun, of your higher self. So having this background, it helps us to understand the spiritual meaning of an eclipse. During the eclipse season, when we are experiencing the solar and lunar eclipse, we are truly being taken into our lower self and into our higher self. So there are those two distinct energies. One is that what is not aligned is being illuminated, and we are supposed to let it go. And the other one is that your higher self, the next version of you, is being illuminated for you as well. And so the question is, are you going to embody your higher self? Or are you going to stay in your lower self? Are you staying in the sphere of the moon? Or are you able to transmute it and step into the sun? So the eclipse season is a time of deep reflection. There's lots of letting go. So you will become aware of the things that are no longer working for you. You will look at your lower self in a new eyes. Notice what's happening in your life during those eclipses. Likely there are some patterns that you tap into again and again and again. Every half a year, maybe you have deep financial fears, or you may have low self-confidence, or you have some kind of different belief system or something that you struggled with in the past, and now it's coming back. It's being highlighted and intensified. And it's for you to see if you are ready to transmute it, or if you will keep it in your life until the next eclipse where you can release it. Because those eclipses are like portals. Anything that doesn't serve you can be released through that portal. What I've been noticing is that during the eclipse season, there are lots of challenges when it comes to people's life purpose, their jobs, also their relationships. And so usually it's a heavy time for relationships. On the other hand, those soulmate relationships can get even stronger with that eclipse energy. So it's almost like what's not true will want to leave your life, and what is true will get even stronger. You build even stronger foundation, but there are always those two opposing energies of the moon and the sun. When the moon eclipses the sun and the sun is invisible, we are not receiving our Christed codes. We are not receiving the spiritual soul light from our higher self. And during this time, it may feel like you don't have that spiritual support. You don't have your spiritual guides around you. And it's up to you to act as your higher self, to truly help yourself, to put in practice everything that you have learned. So there's no one that's going to save you in that spiritual sense, but you're supposed to show how you hold your own Christed codes within yourself without having this influx of energy coming from the sun. So even though you may sometimes feel despair when there's that eclipse season because it's illuminating your lower self, but also your higher self, don't be. Think about it this way. How can you handle those challenges as your higher self? How can you approach the situation as your inner Christ self? How can you show up in that solar illuminating energy to bring sense and meaning and clarity to those situations and dissolve those that no longer support you in being your higher self? What are you ready to transmute and let go of? You may also notice that some people may contact you during the eclipse season, and it is because there are also lots of karmic relationships that want to be released through those eclipses. So maybe it's an old friend or acquaintance or somebody you used to know who always tends to contact you during the eclipse season. And they want to always get back into your life, it seems like. But what's actually happening likely is that there is some kind of karma, some kind of attachment that wants to be purified and healed. So notice the people who are contacting you during the eclipse season, and also notice the people you feel called to contact because likely there's some kind of karma that wants to be released. So it's not like you are meant to be in each other's lives. Maybe yes, but likely not. Likely it's just that karma and healing and integration that needs to take place. Also, there is lots of letting go. But I want to invite you to truly be the observer during the eclipse season. Just notice what's no longer aligned, and on the other hand, where is this energy pulling you to that next level? And notice what's true and what's going to get stronger and what's not. Because sometimes people say, whatever leaves during the eclipse season, let it go. And it's true, if something wants to leave, always let it go. But there's another factor in play here. Because you are likely feeling your lower self and those limiting beliefs and patterns during this time. You may want to sabotage your job, your finances, your relationships. And you may even push things away from your life. And if this is the case, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's meant to go. Maybe it's just that self-sabotage you are applying in your life. So truly look at your deepest motives and intentions here. I invite you to Google the past couple of eclipses and notice, if you remember, what kind of things were happening in your life during those eclipses and what kind of beliefs, emotions were very intensified during that time. There likely will be some kind of pattern, some type of energy you are defaulting to. You are falling back and back again. This is the attraction to that lower self that needs to be burnt and transmuted in that solar Christed light. Are you ready to do it? Notice those patterns. And when they show up for you now again, this time, just see what kind of transmutation needs to take place. And don't ignore those patterns, because after the eclipse season is done, they will disappear. It will not be so heightened anymore. And you may trick yourself into thinking that it's gone for good. But it will show itself again half a year from there. So work with it consciously. Write it down, analyze it, become aware of it. Bring that solar consciousness to those patterns and see what needs to happen for you to be free of them. And also notice what kind of vision, dreams, new ideas are coming to your consciousness. And how can you embody them? Because it's like you are being shown that next level of you, that beautiful version of you that you can truly embody in this life. And those patterns that are being revealed are those that don't let you become it. So also notice who you can become, what are the ideas and visions of yourself that you have during this time. I would love to hear what kind of patterns or things have you noticed during the eclipse season. What kind of loops you've been noticing in your life or even in the collective field, perhaps, because the same applies to the collective. Let me know, I'm curious to hear. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I see you next time.